And that something just might change your life and actually make a damn difference in my life.
You're going to want to pay attention to this one.
Hey everybody, David Niggle. You're going to love this episode.
Think about this for a second. When you were a kid, you were probably taught in some way to ask for what you want. Like if you wanted something, you had to ask for it, right? I mean, that was probably pretty common. Well, what is the assumption there? The assumption is that somebody can tell you no, that you're not always going to get it, that you need the authority and the agreement of someone else in order to get what you want. And I mean, we even get that a lot from a religious perspective. So we get it in school, we get it in religion, we get it in society. Nobody ever taught us to command what we want, right? Now, part of that has to do with a child, under the authority of a parent and then learning. But at some point, what we desire in life, there needed to be a transfer of responsibility into the fact that you don't have to ask for it anymore. You can command it in your life. When we command it, we have to understand the principles behind it. Number one, it's already here. Number two is that we have the power that allows us to do that. We have the power to choose. No other form of life that we're aware of has that conscious power. All the animals operate by instinct. There's no conscious choice there. There's no thinking going on there. It's all reaction to their outside world. And when you start to think about it, the way that we're raised that way. We're given sets of rules and guidelines to react to the world that we're part of, but not how to command the world that we're part of. And it causes a major problem in getting what we want, because what we have developed subconsciously is the possibility that it won't happen. And I think if you're really honest with yourself, you have to admit that there's a little bit of that in your head, the possibility that it won't happen. That's where fears come from. That's where doubts come from. That's where worries come from. When a person is, when you're experiencing that, it's a clear indication that you thoroughly do not understand your own power. You don't understand it. And it takes a long time to come into that full understanding. It does not take a long time to get the results, though. But to come into that understanding, you have to repeatedly use that power in a positive and productive way in your life and see the results, so that you're building the connection in your mind that you're causing it. You're creating those results to happen.
Well, a big theme in this episode, of course, is commanding your success, like we talked about at the beginning. Would you mind reiterating the difference between asking for your success and commanding your success, and why that subtle shift in logistics or linguistics, I should say, is so important?
Well, the difference is the understanding of where the success is. Most people are raised to believe that we have to go out and get success.
Right. It's something
right?
you're working towards, you're achieving.
Yeah, that it's not part of us, that we have to get it, we have to find it. This is where ideas of like you have to know somebody, you got to be lucky, you got to have the right amount of money, it just goes on and on and on. From there, when I started learning, one of the first things that I learned was the success that we desire is already inside of us. It's part of us. And that's really what the word desire explains, right? But most people just don't know that.
Yeah, what a novel idea to think, because we're taught, like you said, that success is something you chase, success is something you go after, it's external. But what you're saying is when you command it, it's coming from within.
Yeah.
And we're not taught that way. What a novel idea that would be to sort of reverse that and have, when we're teaching our young people that, hey, you're born to be a success. You've had programs, you've had podcasts here that are directly linked to that. You were born, it's your birthright. And start coming at it from that point. I think it would make a huge shift.
Totally. It is probably the most important question a person would ever sit down and ask themselves, because it really requires some serious thinking about what do you want. Most of the stuff that we have in life, we don't want. And here's another thing. Think about it like this. The second you die, Everything that you've worked for your entire life, the things that you got blood, sweat, and tears that you hold so cherished to your heart, they belong to somebody else instantly, right? They belong to somebody else. We are just caretakers of things. We don't own anything.
Right. You're just kind of renting it.
It is. So it's not about, oh, I need to get this cup, or I need to get this car, or I need to fly first. It's not about those things. Who we become in the process is ours forever. I think that a person will instantly know the thing that is for them in their life once they start to do it. I've heard too many stories and experienced it myself that the moment you do something that is part of your purpose, it's like you've come home. You may not know it, you may not understand it, you may have to learn and cultivate and develop skill set and all that stuff, but there is a harmony between you and that thing that you don't experience anywhere else. That's me with my teaching, right? That there's something that clicks there for me that while I enjoy lots of other things in my life, there's nothing that compares to that.
You know, which successful people stand out to you in all your years of study? Are there some that you have studied more than others? And why did they leave such an impression on you? And I know I'm kind of blindsiding you with this question, but there's a lot of, you're a constant studier, and you really break down people better than anybody I've ever seen. Which successful people stand out more to you?
Well, it's people that continue to move forward with their life, that don't stop, that don't get tripped up and go completely in the other direction. I think Steve Jobs is a great example of that. He did it all the way up until the day he died. He knew his place and what he was doing. But I see success in many different ways. Ultimately, I think Earl Nightingale had the best definition, the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So for me, any person that I study that is following that idea, to me, is a success, whether it's the founding fathers of our country, or it's the person that invented the telephone, or it's the person that invented the computer, or somebody who's trying to figure out a way to keep people from starving on the planet. It's whoever is progressively realizing that internal image, that internal voice that's telling them which way to go. That's what I see as a successful person. It is not about a destination, and it is not about whether a person is perfect or not.
Today, I have the amazing Joshua Esnard of The Cut Buddy. He is an inventor, entrepreneur, the CEO of his company, and I just welcome, man. It is so cool to have you here. I cannot wait to get into your story with everybody.
David, thanks for having me. I read a little bit about your story, and you're an amazing guy. So thank you for the opportunity to allow me to share my story or help any of your listeners get that successful mindset up.
But would you just take a couple of minutes and tell everybody what it is that you created? Because it's absolutely amazing in my mind.
Yeah, sure. So I'm from a small country, developing country named St. Lucia. My parents had me pretty young. And, my dad is old school. Like, he's the real life hack DIY guy. Like, he has to fix everything, do everything, learn every trade, like all the way from painting a house, fixing a bike, to being the guy who cuts your hair. So my dad was cutting my hair for many years until I was 13 years old, and he only had one haircut. And I know that many people had, especially during COVID, many people's parents had to pick up the clipper for the first time and figure out how to cut their kids' hair. My dad only had one haircut, and it was a buzz cut. I was getting around the age of 13. I got the cool, name brand clothes. I went to TJ Maxx and got some FUBU and stuff like that. And my shoes are cool. And, I'm looking good. I'm ready to ask girls on dates, and I want to be popular in like middle school, about end of middle school. But my hair is looking crazy because my dad's only given me that buzz cut. So I kind of said, let me try and cut my own hair, because he's not going to pay for a barber, or he's not going to do, he's going to be the one cutting my hair. So I started cutting my hair, and I'd give myself bald spots. I'd be like, as a 13-year-old, bald spots. I look like a cheetah. I realized the hardest part about cutting your hair is not necessarily getting this to level. It's to make sure that the hairlines on your head, and I don't have hair now, hairlines on your head or your beard are perfectly a curve or a straight line. And doing that with just freehand is like trying to draw a masterpiece cartoon. It's very hard. So I realized that the best approach is to create a template to stop myself from going too far.
Okay.
And that way I can just cut any exposed hair. And, you know, I actually just cut up like detergent bottle. I'm giving away my secret, but it doesn't matter because I made my money by now. I cut up detergent bottles and cardboard boxes, pizza boxes, and made these shapes. And I used them to outline my hair for 15 years. I didn't really think I had an invention or something great, you know?
So you were just trying to solve this problem that you were having, and you're like, how do I solve this? And you start making these templates out of boxes and whatnot. In order, when did it occur to you that you had something that could be marketable or that you could turn into a business?
So that's a great question. 15 years later, I used the tool as like before dates, before going out, before job interviews. And I actually was moving into a condo with my girlfriend, and we tried to fit a treadmill. You're going to ask, where is this going? We were trying to fit a treadmill through a door. And Jamie, my wife now, she's like, we can't fit this treadmill through. So we had to take the door off of the hinges because the door was too narrow and the door was, kind of jamming the space. So we took the door off the hinges, pushed this big treadmill that we don't even use till this day into the garage. And I was so tired because this thing was so clunky. And she said, all right, put the door back on the hinges, because we had a landlord. We didn't want to get in trouble. And I was like, maybe I'll do it some other time. And I remember she looked at me and just pointed at me like dead in my face and said, you never finish what you start. And it's funny that was the moment that I realized that maybe I was content. My friend Andy Enriquez, he wrote a book called Show Up for Your Life. I wasn't showing up for my life, basically. I was just happy with my day job, every day, wake up, make a little money at my job, pay off my bills, cycle.
Could you leave our listeners with a successful mind tip, something that was impactful to you that you think would be beneficial to them?
Yeah. So there's two things. A, don't listen to your friends or family members about your idea, because they're always going to shut that door on you. And that's usually where most of you guys sit down and give up and go back to watching TV. B, a castle is built with a moat and with walls for a reason. Intellectual property can set you free financially, whether you patent your item and you license it to a company who's sending you royalties and you get to just sit at home and buy a Lamborghini or Rolls Royce or open a truffle farm. Or B, intellectual property allows you to corner a market and get on Amazon or at Walmart and be the only one selling this product. Or if somebody copies your product, you can hire a litigation lawyer and sue them for millions of dollars. So always think about what problems you have. Everything starts with a problem statement. Man, I keep messing up my hair. Man, I can't cut my hair perfectly. Write down all your problems. Literally, all your complaints, all your problems can lead to you just creating a simple invention. Look how simple this is. I don't think I'm special. This is a ruler that has a bunch of sides on it that made millions of dollars. Everybody has a cut buddy in them, no matter who you are. So